In this video, I'm going to be showing you how you can properly sew your 5x5 for your braided wig or even your weave-on wigs. Okay, so you have to properly place your 5x5. You're going to place it now at the center of your wig cap, and make sure that about half inch is outside at the sides, half inch is outside, and it has this M shape when you pin it down. Make sure that all the sides are properly pinned down so that it doesn't lift when you're sewing it down. So I've gone in with my needle. See the way I'm putting my needle from the top, and then the needle is passing in between both threads down. Okay, if you watch the video closely, you're going to see what I'm doing. So I'm just pinning it from the top. This method makes your sewing to be very tight, very secure. So I'm going in, and if you have any hair in your way, you can remove it because it's going to disturb the sewing process. Okay, so you have to remove any hair that would act as an obstruction, and then you just continue to sew this down. Now if you have this kind of closure, you can see that I'm sewing very close to where they ventilated. Okay, where is ventilated, I'm sewing very close to it. You don't want to sew very far from the ventilation. No, you sew close to the ventilation. All right, so close to the ventilation. This is for a braided wig anyways, so I'm doing this method so that I can properly braid the hair. I'm going to braid the hair, and it's going to cover this part that I'm sewing. It's going to fall on it, so just keep going and going. This my mannequin head is disturbing me, but I'm just still going. You sew from up, you bring it out, and then you tie. You can see how it's tight. Now I'm at the back. I want to go to the back. You have to adjust your pins. Okay, you must make everywhere flat so that it won't give you issues when you're sewing it down. So you can see the way I'm cornering my hand, because that place is at the side, the edge. So then I go to the back and keep on sewing everything down. All right, so you just keep on sewing close to where it's ventilated, right? You don't want to sew too far apart so that your thread will not end up showing after braiding. This net, this is the way it was ventilated. It's not like all those. There are some nets that you have that thick part. Now if you have that thick part, you're going to sew that thick part. They are already made laces that comes with like the edges are already sewn down. So when you're trying to place it on your mannequin head, you just have to sew this method, still the same method, but you're going to sew that thick part. I don't know if you understand, but if you are a braider, you will understand what I'm saying. But this particular one is flat. Okay, I think I prefer this one now. Sef, I prefer this particular one because it's very flat on the wig cap, and it's just fine. It doesn't give that bump that those thick lines is going to give. So, and it's going to be very easy to cover because the braids will just fall on it. I'm going to be braiding, I think, 2 rows to the back and then 6 rows on each side. You're going to see in another of my video, but for this video I'm just showing you how you can carefully sew in your 5x5 closure. This method is applicable to any size of closure that you have. All right, not just your 5x5, your 2x6, your 7x7, your frontals. You can use this method, all right, to sew down your closures. So I'm almost at the end. Of the sewing. I just have to carefully sew it down so it looks natural, it looks very flat and then very tight, because you want to secure it down. All right, because we are going to cut out the excess lace. So if you don't sew it and it's not tight, when you're cutting out your lace, it's going to lift. Okay, it's going to lift, so we don't want that. That's why we are sewing very tight like this. And remember that your needle has to come in between the 2 threads. All right, your needle has to come in between the 2 threads. So I'm almost at the end of the closure. I'm at the end. So this particular part, you just need to secure it very well, because I'm sewing on that thick band. All right, so I put my needle through because I'm going to tie it at the end. So I put my needle through, and then just see what I'm doing, putting the needle through, and then I'm going to cut the thread. I'm going to tie this later, so but for now I'm just I just want to show you how neat it is, and then I go ahead with my scissors to trim the excess lace. You don't want to use that lace for anything, right? You can see how neatly trimmed it is. You can see how fine it's looking very nice.